Global Radio, AM 740, downtown Toronto, FM 96.7. Eric Clapton, I Got a Rock and Roll Heart. Happy Gang is here, which today includes not only myself, Neil, and Christine Ross, who's in for Jane Brown, but also Chris Boddy from the Toronto Police, Kerry Schmidt from the OPP. Guys, thanks for coming in, hanging out with us.
Good morning.
Hey,
absolutely.
This is a lot of fun.
A couple weeks ago, Mayor Tory was sitting in the chair that right now is inhabited by Chris Boddy, and he was extolling the virtues of our bike lanes here in the city of Toronto.
Yeah.
And good luck making sense of them.
It's a little complicated.
There's lots of them.
Yeah, well, there's a lot, and now on some of them there's this green paint that's shown up, and some of them have dotted lines, and some of them have these little plastic divider things. I don't know when there's going to be clarity on all of them soon.
Yeah, so one of the biggest questions that we get asked are about the bike lanes on Bloor, the new dedicated bike lanes on Bloor. And a lot of people ask, when can we actually make a right-hand turn from Bloor to go to one of those side streets? So the rule of thumb is this. For the most part, that bike lane is a solid line. Yep. As you come up to a curb that you're able to turn right at, the line becomes separated. So there's about 45 meters of separated lines. So when you approach those separated lines, that's the time when it's safe to do so. Change lanes so you're covering the bike lane. Of course, drivers are going to be looking over the right-hand shoulder to make sure there's no bikes coming. Mm-hmm. Once they're able to do that, what we tell people is move over to the right side of that lane as close as you can to the curb. So if a cyclist is coming from your behind, the cyclist will go to the left of the vehicle and continue on, and then the driver will be able to make a unimpeded right-hand turn.
That sounds complicated. So
it's a little complicated, but it's a new process. So those bike lanes on Bloor have only been there for about a little over a year now. So I was working the night they started working on them last July. So it's going to take a little bit of learning curve for both cyclists and drivers and pedestrians. But you know what? They are a good tool. I know the cyclists find them very useful for traveling, east and west along Bloor. We have a number of our police officers that are on bikes too, so we want them to be safe. So again, it's everybody's responsibility to make sure that we're all safe in the roads.
Wow. It does, because I'm assuming what's going to happen, or what's been happening, you would know better than I, is that I bet people are just making right turns from that lane beside the bike lane. Yeah,
and that's been happening for sure, and that's a no-no. So that's an improper right-hand turn. So we're trying to get that message out that, I always tell people in any intersection, whether it's a bike lane intersection or not, always pull over to the furthest part of that right-hand lane so a cyclist isn't going to be able to go on the passenger side of your vehicle. Yep. If you pull over tight to the curb, the cyclist will safely go around the driver's side of the vehicle and continue on that way. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's complicated. That's why when you're on the road, you need to be paying 100% attention.
I bet you're glad you don't have to worry about cyclists on the highway.
I'm thinking, too, when you're driving along, if you get to the intersection and you get a red light and you're waiting to make a right-hand turn, and now there's bicycles that are in the bike lane beside you, and you want to turn right, when the light turns green, do you have to let all those bikes go in front of you?
Absolutely. And that's what happens.
So that's a good question.
So we don't have many issues with that. Drivers, if you're stopped at a red light, you're first up even at the intersection, cyclists will gather to your right-hand side if you're not pulled over to that right-hand curb lane. Otherwise, cyclists go ahead, drivers make the right-hand turn when it's safe to do so.
Okay,
sure,
interesting.
It's one of those growing pain things that everybody else sorted out as they go eventually.
It's all about sharing the road as well.
Well,
and everyone.
Whenever Libby does fight back, and we mentioned bike lanes in our teas, there are lots of people calling because I think there is still a bit of confusion, and a lot of people, you still get the sense that it's us against them with these rules, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that we really want to curb. And that's why we always say when there's a collision, it's not either only the cyclist's fault, not only the driver's fault, or not only the pedestrian's fault. Everyone has a shared responsibility to keep our roadways safe.
Mm-hmm. Man. And so for so many people feel like share the road means get out of my way, right?
Well, and the problem is the cyclists are the vulnerable ones. They're the ones that are going to get hurt if they hit a car or hit a bump or something that makes them go down, and that's something that we certainly don't want to see people getting hurt.
Anybody versus car wins.
Right. Every time.
Regardless of whose fault it is, right?
Exactly. So, if you're the person behind the wheel, I get that it's frustrating because you've got the pedestrian crossing in front of you, got the cyclist who all of a sudden decides, hey, that crosswalk looks like a really attractive place to ride my bike or whatever. But it's up to us because we're kind of the last line of defense on all of these things. So
Right.
we'll sort it out eventually.
We'll get there.
We're a resourceful
We'll get there.
city. We'll get it done. 8:14 right now. No bicycles causing problems for Captain Frank this morning. He's got to look at what's going on the highways in Toronto
Just
traffic.
a lot of volume out here on all of our major routes. We've got that westbound 401 pretty busy. Anyway.